All right, and it begins. Now we're really solving equations. Okay, this is key, fundamental. You got to get this chapter, all right? So make sure you do whatever it takes to understand the topics we go over in this chapter. These are just single-step equations. So easy, they're one step. Our goal all the time with an equation is to get our variable equals to a number equals to blah, 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 something. But we want our variable alone. All right. For these, it only requires one step to get that to happen. Okay. So it might be addition or subtraction, or it might be multiplication or division. Here, so let's see some examples. Here, we want D alone. In order to do that, we need to do plus 8 plus 8. Now, whatever we do to each side, we got to do to the other. All right. So you can never do something to one side and not the other, because then that makes it not an equation. Right? Thinking if you're lifting weights. If you take weights off of one side, or if you add 8 pounds to one side, you got to add it to the other, or you're going to fall off the bench. All right? That's what we call balancing the equation. It means that you have to do the same thing to both sides all the time. Hopefully you guys already knew that. So now we have that cancels out because negative 8 plus 8 is 0. So we have D equals 25. Done. Here, we want V to be alone. So we have to subtract a 12. That tells us what to do. Because we subtracted a 12 here, we minus a 12 on the other side. So we have a V equals negative 5 minus 12. So that makes it more negative. It's negative 17. Here, this is an 8 times J, right? When the number's right next to the letter, it means we're multiplying. So we have to, what do we do to undo multiplying? We have to divide. So divide by 8. All right, another way to write that would be to multiply by 1/8, right? Because dividing by 8 or multiplying by an eighth is the same thing. So 1/8 times this gives us just J. And then 1/8 times 96 is 12. There's our answer. And then here, y is being divided by 9. So what undoes division? Right? What undivides? Multiplying. So 9 times on both sides. So that reduces and gives us just a y. Negative 8 times 9 is negative 72. All right, let's see a few more examples, and then you guys will have at your U-tries. There's only a few there, okay? So here, D is being divided by 3. So we got to undivide, which is multiplying. So 3 times, and it doesn't matter that the variable's on the right. That's, who cares? We're still just solving for the variable. Do the same things. So that gives us a D, and 3 times negative 84 is negative 252, I believe. Here, we want to get the variable alone. So first steps are to subtract 8 on both sides. So I have a negative C equals negative 7. So negative negative is really like a positive. So not C is C. So we have C equals negative 7. So remember your negative rules. Here, oh my goodness, what do we do now? Do the same thing we did before, right? We're adding here, so we have to unadd, which is subtract. I can subtract 5/9. And I have to subtract 5/9 here. Since I don't have a common denominator, I need to get one. So those cancel, and I got Q equals, so I got to do, instead of 2/3, I need to multiply it, the top and the bottom, by a number that'll give me a 9 on the bottom. So I got to multiply the top and the bottom by 3. So I get a 6/9 minus my 5/9 here. And that gives me Q equals 1/9. All right, fractions are people too. So now we're multiplying by 1/5. The opposite of that would be to multiply by a 5. All right, because 5 times 1/5, or 5/1 times 1/5, just reduces to 1p equals, multiplying our fractions here, 3 times 5 is 15/5, which reduces to a 3. I like to write it like this, p equals 3. You don't need that 1 there. It looks better without it. All right, so unmultiply by 3. Now, it's not just a 3, it's a negative 3, and we want a positive x. If we just divided by a 3, we'd be left with a negative x, so we have to divide by a negative number to undo that negative. So I'm going to multiply by a negative 1/3. So negative times a negative is positive. 1/3 times 3 is 1. So if 1x equals, make sure you do the same thing to both sides. So I'm multiplying. A negative times a positive is a negative number. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times, oh my bad. 3 times 1, no, that's right, is 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and that reduces. X equals negative 1/2. Alright, last one. So now we have a fraction multiplying a number. Alright, this is key. These are actually really easy. All you're going to do is multiply by the opposite of this fraction. See, that's really what we were doing before. If this was a 1/5, I flipped it over and multiplied by a 5 on both sides, or 5 over 1. Right? If this was a 3 here, I flipped that over, like a 3 over 1. I flipped that over and multiplied by a negative 1/3. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Flip this over and multiply by a 3/2 on both sides. I can do whatever I want as long as I do the same thing to both sides. So these reduce and give me an A, and then 6 times 3/2, or 6 over 1 times 3/2 is 18 over 2, which reduces to 9. Alright, so good luck on your U-try, and if you have any questions or comments, be sure to write them in the margin or whatever so you remember them for tomorrow, and I'll see you next class.